Sometimes when you are given a responsibility, which you think you're not capable of doing, it tends to bring out the best in you. You will be amazed at how you will find fulfillment in carrying it out. This story is about Kelly and her father, Hank, a cattle herder who receives news that he has inherited a castle in a different country. Upon their arrival, he's shocked to discover that not only has he inherited the castle, but also a kingdom. In the opening scene of Royal Hearts, we see a woman named Kelly, an assistant professor of English literature, lecturing her students, but her students seem tired and can't wait for the class to end. When the students hear the bell, they do not even bother to wait to listen to any future information from Kelly. She's not bothered, because she likes her job and finds fulfillment in it. She receives a call from her friend Jess, who wants her to come over, but she declines because she has a date later that day. However, on her date, Kelly reveals information about her family background and how much she loves novels. But her date does not seem to have any interest in her conversation. In the end, it was not a successful date. Later, she meets with her friend Jess and discusses her date with her. Jess encourages her to not feel bad, but wishes she could change her choice of men. Kelly wants a man to be just like the fairy tales of the Cinderella story. Jess believes it's not possible, and she wants her to wake up from her dream. However, Kelly is not ready to do so. In the next scene, a named Mr. Grimsby arrives at Kelly's workplace, looking for Kelly's dad Hank for an urgent matter. Kelly's curious because he emphasizes how important the matter is, so she invites him to her office for more details. Meanwhile, Hank is a cattle herder who likes dressing in a cowboy outfit, and his best friend is his dog Bear. He is chatting with his assistant, but gets distracted by their conversation when he sees a car approaching them. His daughter and Mr. Grimsby approach him. Hank is surprised to see Kelly, and there seems not to be much connection between Kelly and her father. This is because she chose to not follow the family path, which is becoming a rancher. Mr. Grimsby introduces himself as a solicitor to Hank. Then he makes a shocking revelation. Hank has inherited an estate in Morania, which also comes with a title, although he does not reveal the specific title. However, Hank finds it hard to believe and feels he has the wrong man. He even proposes to sell the estate. Kelly is aware that her father is not easy to convince, so she wants Mr. Grimsby to leave the convincing aspect to her. Mr. Grimsby leaves, hoping he will have a change of heart. Later, Kelly tries to get him to visit Morania because she is up for a job at Oxford once she obtains her PhD. Also, she thinks it's time for him to grow up and go out to see the world. Hank gets agitated because she's out there chasing her dream, which is not in line with being a rancher. He declines after much argument. In the process, Kelly also gets angry, hoping he will reconsider. Surprisingly, after a while he agrees to go, and Kelly is glad. However, he admits he will miss Bear, who has been his faithful companion for a very long time now. They travel to Morania, and on getting there, Mr. Grimsby picks Kelly and Hank up from the airport. Kelly is surprised at their convoy because she was not expecting it, while Hank is not entirely surprised. On their way to the estate, they run into a block in the road, caused by a handsome sheep herder and his sheep. Impatient to get to their destination, Kelly angrily jumps out of her car and clears the road herself. The handsome sheep herder is surprised because he feels it's not his fault, or his sheep's either. Finally, at the castle, which turns out to be a very big castle full of servants, Hank is surprised and curious because a lot of people are out to welcome them, and they address him as His Majesty. Why is Kelly not surprised? On entering the castle, Hank curiously wants to understand the whole situation. Kelly reveals that he did not only inherit the estate, but also the title that comes with it. The title is their king, and she will be a princess. Kelly apologizes for not letting him know earlier, but she thought if he was aware, he wouldn't have come. Hank gets angry and believes he can't give up being a cowboy to being a king to people he does not know. And besides, he does not belong there. Kelly tries to convince him and let him know if he abdicates, they will lose their independence as a nation. He still declines. She insists he listens to the history behind the estate. Mr. Grimsby explains why the people are desperate to get a king. According to history, Angosia and Morania were one before they split, and they have been doing pretty well as different nations, until they lose their king and need a replacement, so they can gain their independence before Angosia takes over. Cool story, but Hank thinks it has nothing to do with him, and insists they will return the next day. He angrily leaves for a walk. Kelly and Mr. Grimsby are hopeless. They feel he will not change his mind. On his way out, Bosworth, who's his aide, offers to show him around, but he insists he wants to go alone. Meanwhile, Cease, who's Kelly's aide, shows her to the princess room. Kelly falls in love with it because it's beautiful. However, this can only happen if her father accepts the position. As if Cease can read her mind, she suggests she keep trying to convince her father. Kelly also finds out from Cease that they have a library and is very glad. Hank, on the other side, takes a walk down the estate and discovers that they have cows in Morania. He's delighted because seeing them calms him down. This might make him reconsider. Kelly needs to do research on the town and heads to the castle library. As she tries to get a book from the bookshelf using a ladder, she almost falls off and is rescued by the handsome shepherd, whose name is Alex. She appreciates him, and he recognizes her face from earlier. She does too, and they finally introduce themselves. He's aware that she's their princess. Kelly, on the other hand, is surprised to see him in a library. Alex reveals that although he takes care of the animals on the estate, he also loves reading. They get off to a rough start because she believes he's been too forward by wanting to know everything about her. Eventually, after some back and forth banter, he challenges her to go on a horseback ride through the mountains. She finally agrees, and off they go. Kelly and Alex get along well, and Kelly admits that Morania is beautiful. Alex feels the deceased king wants Morania to be modern, which in every way affects the citizens, but he believes her father will be a great leader. She hopes she will be able to convince her father to reconsider, because he feels he does not belong there. Alex thinks of a way to assist her, and wants to show her something. Later, Kelly anxiously searches for her father in the castle to show him something important, hoping it will change his mind. Surprisingly, he is fixing the ranch door, but she wants him to leave it to follow her. He does, and she shows him the picture of their family genealogy. The first king looked exactly like him. With this revelation, she persuades him to help the people, even if it will be for a short time. He finally agrees to do it for 2 weeks, and Kelly is glad. In the next scene, Hank gets ready for his first day as a king, and Bosworth gives him a summary of how his first day is going to be. After getting dressed as a cowboy, he meets with Kelly, Mr. Grimsby, Alex, and his aide. Alex expresses his intentions of being willing to assist in every way. Mr. Grimsby is glad he is willing to be their king, and reveals he will have a meeting with the parliament later in the day to address them. Kelly has also reached out to the king of Angosia, whose name is Nicholas. She's invited him for dinner to create a cordial relationship between the two nations. King Hank feels he's not prepared for the meeting, and he still misses his dog. Mr. Grimsby has already assisted him by drafting out his speech, and hopes he goes through with it. Alex seems to understand how King Hank feels, but Kelly believes he should not support him, for him to start getting used to being a king. Mr. Grimsby, King Hank, and Bosworth leave to start preparing for the dinner and meeting. Kelly believes Alex behaves like her father, who does not like to joke with serious matters. Later, King Hank discovers the castle is in pretty bad shape. The West Wing is no longer being used, and the place is falling apart. Bosworth suggests that the citizens have their taxes raised to pay for the repairs. However, King Hank feels this suggestion is not fair to the citizens, and plans to do something about it. Afterward, he goes for his meeting, accompanied by Mr. Grimsby and Bosworth. Kelly encourages him to give it his best shot. Later, Kelly visits the ranch to see Alex. She apologizes for being harsh earlier. Alex, on the other hand, is not angry, but feels she's getting used to being a princess. While they are still discussing, they announce the arrival of King Nicholas. Curious to know this king, Kelly leaves Alex to welcome him. However, what Kelly sees is beyond her expectations. She gets to meet King Nicholas, who is quite young, handsome, and chivalrous. Exactly Kelly's kind of man. At the meeting with the council, King Hank decides to do it his way. He ignores the speech Mr. Grimsby prepared for him, and he proposes to create a cattle ranch rather than raise taxes. The council wants to decline, but when he threatens to give up his title, they have no choice but to agree. Meanwhile, Kelly wants her assistant Cease to get her ready for the state dinner. She wants to be beautiful for King Nicholas. Surprisingly, Cease has made all the preparations available beforehand. Kelly's glad, and she changes into a different dress before she finally decides to go for the best one. However, after King Hank meets with the council, he decides to have a cold beer. Bosworth and Mr. Grimsby are amazed. He stops in a bar and meets a woman named Joan, who happens to own the bar. When the beer is not cold, he offers to help her fix her refrigerator, since he is good at fixing things. They talk, and he finds out she's a single parent. She seems to like Hank, but she doesn't know he is their king, because he's not dressed like one, and he's not ready to reveal it to her. So she expresses her worries about their kingdom being taken over by Angosia. However, she takes it a little further, saying their hope lies in the hands of a man who believes he is a king, a whack job. She doesn't think he is certified for that role. Unfortunately, Joan finds out about his identity when Bosworth reaches out to him in the bar. She wishes he could have dinner with her, but he declines because of the state dinner that is scheduled. Later, Kelly meets with King Nicholas. He claims he is humbled by her beauty. At the same time, he is eager to meet her father. Kelly soon discovers that her father is in the castle, but is shocked to see that he is still dressed in a cowboy outfit. She leaves in haste to meet him. However, King Nicholas finds her act suspicious. Kelly meets with her father and sees him preparing the castle for the cattle ranch with Alex. She suggests he leave and get ready for the state dinner. Alex is curious about King Nicholas and Kelly because he discovers she's interested in him. He wants her to be careful because the king always gets what he wants. However, Kelly feels he is too charming to have anything to do with her. Later, at the state dinner, King Henry proposes a toast to his guest from Angosia, but King Nicholas is dissatisfied when he sees the king's dressing style, his cowboy hat. However, he tries to hide it from Kelly, After blessing the food, Hank is surprised nobody is eating, until his daughter whispers that he has to pick up his fork first. Then they all dine together. King Nicholas shares his doubts with Kelly in a subtle manner that her father must be surprised as they are at being king all of a sudden. She suspects his tone and hopes their surprise is a good one, especially since he would have been king of both kingdoms, if not for her father. But he flatters her by claiming if her father hadn't accepted, he wouldn't have met her. Kelly blushes. They serve King Hank escargot, but he does not like it. So, he decides to go back to the bar for some supper with Joan. At the bar, he eats her food and enjoys it. Joan hopes they can still hang out after supper. They seem to like each other. Meanwhile, Kelly and King Nicholas talk. But anytime she wants to bring up anything political, he changes the subject back to how much he likes her. Alex, on the other hand, waits for her at the stable. Unfortunately, she never shows up. In the next scene, Alex and King Hank have a discussion, and he's curious about how he got Kelly to go on a horse ride with him, because he has not been able to do that for a long time. Alex suggests he share his daughter's interests, that way they can become closer. Kelly and King Nicholas join them. King Nicholas is curious about what they plan to do with the ranch. King Hank reveals their plan to be the best beef supplier. While he leaves to receive his call, Alex approaches Kelly, and she remembers she forgot to go to the stables. While she is on her way to visit the stable with Alex, King Nicholas interrupts them. He wants to take her on a date. Alex is heartbroken. Meanwhile, Bosworth suspects Kelly has an interest in King Nicholas, but the king believes he's not good for her. Later, King Nicholas takes her out for an evening stroll and a carriage ride. Kelly's glad, because she finds him charming. King Hank decides to listen to Alex's advice and visits the library to get a book. Bosworth assists him in getting Kelly's favorite book, because he overheard Alex and the king's discussion. King Hank feels he's getting on his nerves. Meanwhile, Kelly is spending so much time with King Nicholas that she keeps ignoring Alex. He takes her on a date to a tent, and they drink champagne. All the while, he asks questions related to her father, and how he is adjusting to his new life as a king. However, when she assures him that he is doing just fine, he changes to the fact that he will be seeing more of her, making her blush. Much later, King Hank also goes on a fishing date with Joan, and becomes more acquainted with her. In the next scene, King Hank assists Alex in setting up the cattle ranch. Kelly joins them and reveals she is aware of his date with Joan. The walls have ears. Her dad decided not to tell her because he felt she would not approve. However, Kelly is happy that he is finally going out with someone who will make him smile. She wishes them the best and wants him to invite her to the royal ball. She also sees him with a book and realizes that King Hank is changing gradually. At the Morania Town Archery Festival, Kelly walks with King Nicholas, and a child gives her a flower. Shortly after, King Nicholas leaves to take a call. She sees Alex, and she's surprised to see him at that kind of function. He teaches her archery. She learns that he went to Oxford for college and is impressed with him, but surprised he is working at a stable. This makes him reveal he did it to fulfill his father's wish. But he is now studying at veterinary school and will soon be done. Soon, King Nicholas comes along and shoots a bullseye. Not to be outdone, Alex shoots a bullseye too, splitting the other arrow. It appears both of them are out to impress Kelly. Later, Kelly discusses her experience of archery at the town festival with Cease. She believes she has multiple suitors. Still at that, King Nicholas sends her a necklace as a gift to wear to the royal ball. At the fancy ball, King Hank dances with Joan, and they both find the royal ball interesting. Kelly is all dressed, wearing the necklace. King Nicholas greets her with an incorrect quote, stating it's Shakespeare. However, Alex, who is a waiter at the ball, is quick to correct that the quote is from Byron. Kelly confirms that Alex is right, which makes King Nicholas embarrassed. After they dance, King Nicholas proposes marriage to Kelly. He believes she can grow to love him, and he will do everything in his power to make her happy. She agrees to consider it, and he promptly announces to the party that they might become married. King Hank is not pleased, and doesn't raise his beer in the celebratory toast. Even Alex is shocked. Alex is very distressed about the possible engagement, despite not spending any real time with her. He talks with her in the stable, when she comes to say hi to her horse before going out on a ride with King Nicholas. Alex asks her why she is getting married. Kelly let him know she isn't, she is just considering it. After Alex has pestered her, Kelly reveals she agreed to think about it because he asked publicly, and she did not want to embarrass him. Alex believes she is doing this because she sees him as a man from her fairytale books. King Nicholas shows up to take Kelly out for a horse ride. Alex assists Kelly to get on her horse, and feels there's something odd about her possible engagement. Later, Alex goes to King Hank to discuss the cost report on the cattle ranch. But the king feels he's not there to discuss the cost report, but something else. Alex decides to indulge him. He suspects King Nicholas and feels he is hiding something from them. Hank believes him, because he also has his suspicions. Alex suggests he make a discreet inquiry about him. The king also plans to do the same, and he wants Bosworth, who's there with them, to keep it a secret. As Alex plans to leave, Hank encourages him to not give up on Kelly. He believes she's also in love with him. Meanwhile, Kelly and King Nicholas go on a tour around the castle. They talk, and she reveals she believes in the Cinderella story, but she feels it's a fairy tale and not real. King Nicholas encourages her not to stop believing in it, because he feels he is the perfect picture of the man in the story. Then he goes in for a kiss. Unfortunately, they do not get to kiss, because Cease shows up to call Kelly's attention to Nellie, the horse who's about to give birth. Kelly leaves him, making Nicholas angry he did not get to kiss her. As Kelly rushes down to the stable, King Hank joins her. Later, while King Nicholas waits for Kelly, one of his servants is curious about his relationship with her. He believes the marriage proposal is too early, but King Nicholas believes it's not. An arranged marriage has been in existence for a long time. He feels he will make Kelly love him by all means. King Nicholas is desperate. But why? Back at the stable, Alex assists Nellie in giving birth, and the king is proud of him. The king leaves them, but Kelly is not willing to go. She wishes to stay and keep staring at Nellie's foal. She does not even remember that King Nicholas might still be waiting for her. Later, Kelly and Alex continue to observe Nellie with its foal. They believe it's amazing, and Alex can't stop staring at Kelly. He's in love with her, but feels she's in love with King Nicholas. Meanwhile, while King Hank is outside, being served tea by Bosworth, Hank is curious to know if he has gotten any word yet, but Bosworth informs him that he is working on it, and they will soon receive some information. King Nicholas joins him, and he sees Alex and Kelly watching the horses. He does not find it interesting. King Hank believes he was supposed to be aware of the marriage proposal intent before Nicholas approached Kelly, and he reveals her plan to finish her dissertation. Nicholas believes he will make her reconsider. Hank reveals that she is a handful and will not let go of her dream. But Nicholas refuses to listen to Hank. This makes Hank feel he is proud. Hank goes on another fishing date with Joan. She senses he's bothered about his daughter getting married to King Nicholas. She, however, encourages him to have a heart-to-heart discussion with Kelly. He feels she will not listen, but decides to give it a try regardless. Later, King Hank discusses it with Kelly. He encourages her not to live her life following a writer's fantasy, but wants her to write her own story. He reveals he learned it from her favorite book, and she's surprised. He feels Nicholas is proud, and also believes she's in love with someone else. Kelly appreciates him, and plans to figure it out herself. He emphasizes that she is being stubborn like him when it comes to making decisions. In the next scene, Nicholas and Kelly continue with their horse riding. However, he wants to know if she has a positive reply to his marriage proposal. Kelly decides to follow her heart, letting him know of her plan to finish her doctorate. Nicholas suggests she will have to let go of her dream, because he believes their marriage will make their nation united. But she does not reconsider. She returns his necklace and believes he will find his queen. Angrily, he threatens her that it may lead to war between the two nations. He even thinks she is stubborn and is not following her family's traditional choice of career as the lost sheep of the family. But she feels that he's been desperate and believes there will be no war. Kelly shares the news with her father, and he's glad she has finally made the right choice. Then, Alex joins them to reveal what he discovered from an old friend at Oxford about King Nicholas. Nicholas is by his car and about to leave when Hank, Kelly, and Alex approach him. They reveal their findings about his nation. They're near bankruptcy and have been losing their bids on some major contracts. These contracts are what will help them build factories and make money, but the problem is, they don't have the needed raw materials for the job. Therefore, they will need Morania's assistance, because they have the raw materials to carry the contract, which they don't have in Anglosia. That's why he's been desperate. Nicholas is surprised and feels ashamed because of the whole situation. Then he plainly states that he doesn't love Kelly. He has just been using her to get what he wants. Then he mentions that once her father is tired of playing king, then he can have both kingdoms. But Kelly mentions that by then, he would have lost the contract. However, Hank suggests the two nations do some real horse trading, if only he can guarantee Morania's independence. Then they can grant them a lease to the mineral on the mountain. Nicholas has no choice but to agree to their terms. In the next scene, they are in a meeting with the council. King Hank, along with Alex, proposes that the Privy Council run Morania and dissolve the monarchy, although the royal lands and properties will still belong to him. Although the proposal is nice, they are skeptical, because they have always been led by a monarch. They negotiate a deal and want him to serve in an advisory capacity. Hank plans to consider and get back to them on that. Then and there, they conduct a vote, and all are in favor of dissolving the monarchy. All the while, Alex has been beside Hank. Then the Chancellor mentions that his son's expensive tuition eventually paid off. This reveals that Alex is his son. In the next scene, Hank finally gets to throw a barbecue party in Morania. Kelly and Alex also have a discussion, and he's willing to support Kelly's dream. While they are discussing, he takes an excuse to sort something out. Meanwhile, Hank and Joan's relationship has gotten really close, and she wishes he could stay in Morania. Kelly meets her dad and appreciates him for always being there for her, even when she doesn't always do what he likes. Finally, their relationship takes a good turn. Surprisingly, Alex shows up with Hank's dog Bear. Hank, who has really missed his pet, is delighted. Kelly is amazed at how he was able to bring the dog. He boasts of his cowboy skills and wonders if she won't mind being with one. Kelly reminds him that she was raised by one, and eventually Alex and Kelly kiss to a new beginning. Hank and Joan dance with Bear. Afterward, Hank and Joan go back home to Big Sky Country, while Alex and Kelly stay in Morania to raise Nellie's foal. In the springtime, they all return to Morania for Alex and Kelly's royal cowboy wedding.